Welcome into the Trevor Staub Show, episode number 26. Today we have a very special guest. We have Alden Harris, the recent winner of the Mid-America Open. We're going to talk to Alden all about that win. We're going to talk about the YouTube vlogs he's been making, and as he feels like he's been slipping under the radar a little bit, because I think that Alden could be a rising star in our sport. So let's hop right into it. All right, and we're now welcoming on our guest for the show today. We have the 2022 Mid-America Open champion, Alden Harris. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we dive into your recent win at Harmony Bends, I want to let the audience get a chance to know you a bit. It's kind of your first win on the Pro Tour this year, so you're kind of emerging. So I wanted to let everybody kind of get more of the full story. You've been a PDGA member since only 2017, so not a super long time, but you've definitely been around for a little bit. But before then, when did your interest in disc golf start in the first place?
Yeah, so I played baseball my whole life. I never even played any Frisbee sports or disc sports. And then when I was 15 or 16, my dad had a gift card for some reason to a sporting goods store and wanted something to do with me and my brother. And he got a disc golf basket and some discs. So that's when I first started playing disc golf and really fell in love with it.
Okay, so baseball player, what position?
Outfield.
Outfield? Okay. What? Center field, right field, left field?
Center field and left field, usually.
Center field and left field. Okay. Do you feel like your baseball skills like transitioned pretty easily into disc golf? Like that was a big help for you?
Maybe a little bit, but not anything I really noticed. It felt like disc golf was a very new sport, and I really had to.
Yeah. No, yeah. I came from a baseball background as well, and similar to you, I had no Frisbee experience, and like I played middle infield, and a lot of people like immediately were like, oh, so like the sidearm throw, like that probably translates so easly. And I'm like, no, actually I threw the backhand first. So I kind of feel the same thing. I didn't really have that translation. But getting on from that, so once you began competing, you were able to grow your rating rather quickly. Your first rating of 876 jumped to over 1,000 in just over 2 years. Did you take notice at how quickly you were progressing, and did you kind of have your eyes set on professional disc golf at that point?
Not really. I don't know. It all kind of just happened. I guess I fell in love with it so much. It's just all I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was just go practice it and play rounds. So I guess it just kind of happened naturally.
Yeah, no, I've heard that from a lot of people who, like, I feel like I've interviewed quite a few people this year that have had a similar path where they just started playing and getting better, and it just all kind of like, it just was one step after another. Like, was there a point, what point did you like make the decision, like, I'm going to tour? Like, at what point did you feel like, okay, I'm good enough that, I can really put everything on the line here and go out and do this?
So in 2020, I think that was the year that I really felt like I had a chance to tour and that I wanted to. It was something I wanted to do. And then, but it was still kind of up in the air if I would be able to or not, if I was good enough or not. And then at the end of that season, I won Music City, which I felt was kind of like the point where I kind of confirmed it with myself that I could. Yeah,
definitely. You obviously you had that win at Music City. You're a few seasons into your professional career now. With that being said, and with what you'd accomplished already in the past, what kind of expectations did you have for yourself going into this season?
I don't know. I don't want to just say no expectations, but I kind of feel like that's what it was.
Yeah. So like there wasn't really like specific goals you had in mind. You kind of like what? So like based on of last season's, like was there anything that you were like, let's just say, put it this way, regardless of the recent win that you just had before then, would you say that you were happy with your performance, or were you thinking that you were lacking a little bit?
I definitely felt I was a little bit of both. Because I knew it was my first year on tour last year, so I don't know. I felt like cashing at a few events, having a couple good events was good for me, but I definitely wanted to do a little bit better this year for sure. Yeah,
definitely. So let's dive into that win at Mid-America a bit. Going into the event, getting there for the practice rounds and all that. It's funny. When I was talking to Isaac Robinson about Idlewild, he mentioned that whole week he felt awful. He had no intentions of winning. He really didn't think it was going to be his week, and then it turned out that way. Going into this event at Mid-America, what were you feeling going into the week? Did you feel like it was kind of, things were clicking, or did it come out of nowhere?
going into that week, I really wanted to win. It was an event where I felt like I had a really good chance of winning. So
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I
No, it's I. Did your practice rounds go well, or were they not like the best, or
Yeah,
what was going on
that
there?
course definitely suits my game pretty well. So my practice rounds, I was able to get a really solid game plan, and I think with that, I felt like I had a really good chance of winning. So I went into the event just giving it my all, really, really gunning for the win.
Yeah. What parts of Harmony Bends do you feel like line up to your game? Like what specific parts?
Not a lot of forehands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that typically what you're looking for in courses when you feel like you have a great chance to win? Is just like not forehand dominant?
Yeah, I mean, I've been developing a little bit of a forehand, so I can use it
Yeah.
when I absolutely need to. But for the most part, I don't really like throwing them, and I'm pretty good at the flip up like mid or putters, so I can
Yeah.
work with what I have. But yeah, I'm definitely yeah.
Yeah, we've certainly seen, a lot of players have success, even this season, Garrett Gerthy is one of them who do not have crazy forehands, but still have had a lot of success on tour. Going into Ledgestone this week, what do you feel like that course, the two courses, do they kind of suit that game plan as well, or do you feel like the forehand is going to be tough to go without?
I feel like I'm a player who's relatively safe, plays relatively safe. So Eureka kind of plays to my benefit. I feel like because people try to get pretty aggressive and go for birdies, and then
Yeah.
Northwoods, I feel like just playing Harmony Bends last week is going to help me because it's just throwing drivers hard through the woods pretty much every hole.
Yeah.
Which was a
Yeah.
lot of Harmony Bends.
Yeah, do you feel like is there an intimidation factor to Northwoods Black, or is it kind of like, you're just trying to focus on keeping your head and getting through it, because it's almost hard to avoid like not having some really tough holes out there?
Yeah, Northwoods is pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, where Harmony Bends, it's not, the par fives are relatively short, the par fours are relatively short, and there's a lot of par threes. But at Northwoods, if you have one bad shot, it's like an automatic bogey to double bogey. Where at Harmony Bends, if you have a bad shot, you can sometimes even save the birdie.
Right. So going back to Mid America, what parts of your game in specific that were really clicking that you thought were the biggest keys to your success out there?
I don't know. I was hitting my lines pretty well, but I felt like my putting was pretty good. I feel like my putting,
Yeah.
I always have a good amount of confidence in my putting, but I think I only missed one inside the circle, which always helps.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you were 97% for C1X putting for the event. So do you feel like with you, like, and this is similar to a lot of players, but is like putting the one thing where if it's on, that's going to be like, okay, I have a chance to win at any point?
Yes, definitely. I think so.
Yeah. So in the event, you were playing well that entire event. You kind of went coast to coast, never really had a bad round. But as you're going through an event like that and, you come out hot the first round, you follow it up with another solid round. But what point during the event does it really sink in that you're going to have a real chance to win? Like, oh, okay, I'm really in this.
Yeah, I actually know the exact point. It was because I had an early tee time round one, and so I got in before like most people even started, and I came in with a 9 under, and I looked at scores and I was like leading, and like no one else was even close, and I didn't even feel like I had a crazy good round. I felt like I left a lot out there. So yeah, I don't know. I felt like because I left a lot out there, I feel like I could get a lot more in the next 2 rounds. And I guess that course was playing hard for people, and I felt like it wasn't playing too difficult for me. So
yeah, wow, that's so pretty early on that you kind of were like, okay, it's time that I may be able to get a win. So in that final round, it was, obviously you're battling for the lead during the final round. You had the lead for a lot of it. Was there extra pressure added when you see Chris Clemens and Anthony Barela get into the clubhouse pretty far ahead of you with like really solid scores?
No, because I didn't even know the scores until like 60 seconds before I tapped out.
Really?
So I had no idea.
Did you know? Well, did you know your score?
I mean, I knew my score, but not relative to really anyone else.
So you didn't know you were going to win until you tapped out.
Yeah, walking over the bridge, I asked Gannon, I was like, if I make this, do I win? He was like, yeah.
Really? Is that like an intentional strategy for you, just trying to keep the scores out of your head?
Kind of. I mean, for like Anthony and Chris, I had no idea what was going on, but for Gannon, I kind of had an idea that we were within 1 or 2 strokes, but
so
yeah.
I guess it's safe to say then, with that being said, does that mean your strategy on hole 18 probably wasn't going to change no matter what?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I've heard it both ways. There are a lot of players who like to, know the scores like constantly. Some guys, check it like at a certain hole during the round, but that's crazy. Wow. So like when you heard that, like Gannon says to you, like, yeah, you're going to win. All you got to do is tap out. Like, did they just hit you all at once? Was that like a crazy shock?
I felt like I was playing well enough where I kind of already knew, but yeah, definitely was a good feeling when he kind of confirmed it.
Wow, man! I guess he's a good friend. He could have just lied. That would have been a shock. Terry comes up to you and you're like, "Wait, I thought I lost." Okay, wow. That's I've never heard of somebody finding out that late. I think the last time something like that happened was like Eagle. I think won a few years back, and he didn't even know that he had won. That's crazy. So, okay, well, you obviously were playing well, and you said you were pretty confident, but at hole 17, there was a 2-stroke swing between you and Gannon. That was a pretty pivotal point because it actually tightened it up. After that hole, did you feel any kind of pressure? Did you have to regain composure, or were you still pretty confident?
It was definitely a little scary because I knew that brought him within 1 or 2 just in the, in my head. And hole 18 is very, very difficult, but it didn't really change my game plan because it's hard to play safe on hole 18 because you the only tunnel is over all the OB. So I just stuck with my game plan.
Yeah. So one of the major stories surrounding your final round, besides the stellar play from the lead card, was the duration of the round. I'm sure you've seen plenty of the comments and the feedback online about it. Like people have been talking about it all over the place. But, since you were actually on the lead card, you were in the situation, did you feel like it was taking long? And then was there factors at play that led to it taking longer that people might not realize that they're really just drawing assumptions?
Yes, because I've seen a lot of the comments aimed towards Gannon, and obviously he does take a while. But I felt like the separation from the lead card and chase card happened on the front 9. Because Evan and Connor were kind of struggling on the front 9, and they were probably both I don't really know, but maybe 4 or 5 over just on the front 9, and that alone probably caused the separation.
Yeah. So you feel like most of it was kind of, people were picking and choosing at things that weren't, necessarily the cause. That makes sense. Do you feel like, and I've heard a lot of people say too, just playing on coverage on the lead card can also increase the time of your round. Do you feel like that was, part of it as well?
Yeah, there's a couple times where we kind of had to wait for the gallery to get in position. They were kind of moving around on the side of the tee pad or side of the green. So yeah, I definitely think having a gallery adds a little bit more time.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I wanted to add about that was in situations like this, because obviously it's become, it's been a huge talking point really throughout the season is how long players are taking, trying to control things. And I think it's going to become very relevant at Ledgestone because of Northwoods Black and how notorious the backups are, 45 minutes and things like that. And then to add to the fire, the whole Nico situation happened. And now we're talking more about okay, should there be stopwatches everywhere? What is your perception of, the current climate about what do the players feel like on tour? What's the buzz about how that should be handled going forward? Are most players thinking, oh, I think we should start timing all the groups, or are most people kind of loose about it? What's kind of the feeling?
I feel like it's mostly situational, at least in my mind, because I play with Gannon a lot, and I don't feel like he takes a ton of time up until there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And I just don't see anyone calling him under that pressure because, I don't know, it's a big moment in the tournament, and I feel like he deserves maybe a little more extra time because it's such a big moment.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot, but I think that it's tough that Gannon definitely gets a lot of the scrutiny because a lot of people are tuning into that round. In the second part of that round, there's already a lot of separation. And you're right, they are watching him play under the most pressure he's under all round. And and whereas they haven't seen, maybe on the front nine, like he's playing pretty quickly, stuff like that. So do you feel like the best way to handle it going forward, is there a point, even under pressure where like an official needs to be called over and there needs to be time assessed? Like, does it get to that point?
I feel like, it should really just be if it's actually causing a backup. And in my head, that's kind of what makes sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, obviously, Mid-America, this is one of the big ones of your career, but you've also had some pretty significant wins. You took down Goat Hill. That was a great win with a really cool trophy, by the way. How has it been toting that thing around, by the way?
Yeah, I would pin over, but it's not here anymore. I put it on my shelf when I got home.
Okay, so you were able to drop it off?
Yeah.
That's nice. That's the one thing I hear a lot, because like you see some trophies at some of the pro tours and like, oh, these things are just not that great. But then you hear people talk about like, well, you do realize a lot of these players would have to put them in their vans or whatever. So I feel like they just need to like come with mailing service to like get them back to your home base.
Like Albert in Tallahassee, he got like an arrow, which I don't know how you can even get that back to your house.
That's a good point. Yeah. But with this win and comparing it to some of the other big ones you've had in your career, where does it compare? Like, is this definitely the best one you've had? Is it the most, excited you've been about a win before?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely the biggest win of my career. But it doesn't feel much different than my other wins just because I don't know, because at the time when I won Music City, that was my biggest win. Goat Hill then was my biggest win, and now this is my biggest win. So they all feel very similar to me. But I think on paper this is my biggest one for sure.
Okay. And looking forward to the rest of the season, is there a certain event that you've kind of got, circled on your schedule that would be like the most special to win going forward?
Oh man. I mean, obviously one of the majors would be pretty crazy, but other than that, I've always loved Smuggler's Notch. I think those courses play well to my game, so give it a chance there.
Yeah, that's a good pick for sure. So one of the things that, when you won, I had heard of you. I had seen you on YouTube and watched you play a few times, but I feel like as I dove into your stats a little more and kind of looked at your PDGA profile and was like researching a bit, one thing I noticed was, you're young. You haven't been around for a super long time. How old are you exactly? You
21.
Don't mind me asking. You're only 21. Okay, so you're younger than me. You're super young. You've had, some successful wins on tour. I forgot about the win at Music City. That's certainly a big one. You've got this win now, and the one at Goat Hill was no joke either. You beat some really good players. And you've kind of emerged onto the sport really quickly. And I think that a lot of other players have, been put on this like spot, Gannon being one of them. And certainly he's deserved it, but like, the young prodigies and futures of the sport, essentially. And, there's a couple other names that you can fill in those slots, but you're not really a name that has up until this point been associated with that. Do you feel like you've kind of slipped under the radar a little bit as far as being somebody who's being pegged for, a future star in the sport?
I don't know. I don't go online much, so I wouldn't really know, but
okay.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah. Hey, well, you know what? The best place to be is under the radar. So it's working out so far. You definitely won't do yourself any harm by staying out of the comment sections. That's for sure. One other thing I wanted to ask too is the hair. What's the story with the hair? Because you have incredible hair. It's so long, and it's definitely a signature look. So what's the story with the hair?
Well, I went to a high school that didn't allow for long hair, so maybe that kind of sparked my want for long hair. But ever since I graduated, I rarely cut it now. So.
Yeah, so it's just kind of just keeps going,
Yeah,
I get it. I get it where like it gets to a length where now it's just like, why cut it? Just keep it going. How long has it been? So it's been what, like 3 years now, 4 years?
Yes, something like that.
Wow. I would have guessed even longer. That's pretty impressive. Your hair grows fast. So aside from the way you've been making waves on the disc golf scene with your play has been your YouTube vlogs that you've been rolling out. I stumbled upon them a few months ago, and like I was absolutely like shocked because I feel like I don't have a super good grip on like the disc golf YouTube content these days because I make a lot of it, so it's hard to watch a lot of it. But I've seen, a lot of the players that do vlogs, but I hadn't seen yours. And they just made me laugh because like I haven't seen like Gannon, painted in that light before, and Gavin and Simons and a few of them. So what made you decide to start those while out on tour?
Mostly just fun. And to look back at them later in life, because I think they're so fun to make, and I feel like my life or every week is just so different, and there's so many different experiences. So I definitely wanted to capture it. But another reason was obviously to grow my brand and to just, I don't know, start something.
Yeah, definitely. And it certainly makes sense. I mean, any disc golfer at this point that has time to do it should really be getting that like kind of content, because it's really easy to find success on YouTube, and there's a lot of people, disc golf fans, that are looking for that kind of behind the scenes content. Your behind the scenes content is kind of a mixture, because it's like some of it is like true behind the scenes, but then some of it feels like more, I want to say scripted, but it's definitely a little bit scripted.
Yeah.
So like how much planning and scripting goes on? Like, is it usually like, oh, we just have a quick idea, or is there like a lot of thought that goes into it?
During the off season, I thought of a lot of stuff to do that I thought would be funny. So I wrote down a lot of it, and I think it was like a month ago, I got this little notepad and wrote down all the tournaments ahead, and just like a couple things to do at each tournament, just to have like a kind of a schedule for each tournament, just so I don't go into the week with no ideas. But then definitely like 80% of it is just like, just whatever happens.
Yeah, no, that's honestly a great idea. Is there like players that have like asked to like be a part of your vlog now that it's kind of picked up some steam?
Yes, definitely a couple of them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you, Gannon and Gavin and the other guys in the vlogs, have you guys been friends for a while, or you just kind of become, getting closer on tour?
The Robinsons I've known for a while because they're from Georgia, so I've played with them. Yeah, since I started playing. Gannon I met last year, and we talked a lot during the off season. We played a lot of video games, so we've got to know each other a good bit. And then Gavin I didn't meet until Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys definitely have a pretty cool dynamic in the vlogs. Like I said, I think they're some of the best content. If you're listening to this show right now and you haven't seen Alden's vlogs, find him on YouTube. Just search Alden Harris and you'll see it. It is really funny content, and you get to see a lot of like, I mean, I've seen a bunch of them, and I sat down earlier this afternoon and watched like the rest of them that I hadn't seen, because like it was just a great time. Gannon's funny, so
Gannon's very funny.
Yeah, like when I met him, it was kind of before he kind of really broke out on tour, so like he was still in his shell a little bit, but he's definitely like broken out a bit.
Yeah.
Anyways, one of the last things I wanted to ask you, I like to get power rankings on my shows and like kind of customize it to who's my guest. So being, part of the van life, it's something you claim. I want to get your power rankings of the top 2 best and worst parts of the van life.
Okay. Wait, top 2 worst and best, so 4 total?
Yeah, 4 total.
Okay. Let's see. The best, I love having all my stuff with me. That's always nice. Yes. It's just my home on wheels, so it's like being home at every event, no matter where I am. Yeah. Maybe another good one would come to me, but I'm going to go to the bad ones because I already thought of one. Basically, I don't really have a crazy built-out van. It's very, I don't know, it's very boring, I guess. But I don't really any insulation. So basically, whatever temperature it is out there, it's in here. So Mid-America, it was like 100.
Oh, yeah.
Which was horrible. So luckily for me, I got a hotel for that one. But that's definitely if I don't get a hotel at those events, it's a pretty miserable week in the van.
Okay.
Man, let's see another bad one and good one. I can't. Those are the first 2 that came to mind.
Well, hey, maybe those are the only ones that really stick out. Are you planning on kind of building it out more, or is that something you're looking to do in the future?
It used to be a passenger van back in the day before I even had it, so it would be kind of difficult to build it out now because it used to have windows. It's wrapped now, but
yeah,
so it'd be a bit of a process, but I mean maybe.
Okay, yeah, I mean I've seen some the touring solutions that are out there in the disc golf scene are pretty crazy. Yeah. I mean, you have everything from Ezra using a Prius back in the day to the guys who have like the full on RVs. So it's certainly There's a lot to it. As far as like the long drives, do those like bother you? Like, what's your technique to get through the long drives?
That's another good one for the bad things about it. Okay. They used to be pretty bad. They're not as bad anymore. You kind of get numb to driving, I guess. Like coming here, can't remember how long it was, but I don't even remember the drive. It goes by so fast now.
I can totally get that. We drove like 12 hours to Missouri for a disc golf thing earlier this year, and ever since then, every drive just feels like a cakewalk.
Yeah.
It's because of that one, so I totally can get that. But anyways, Alden, thank you so much for joining the show. It was great hearing from you and getting to know you a bit more, and everybody, we're going to be rooting for you at Ledgestone. Hopefully just bring down another win.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, and thanks once again to Alden for joining the show. It was great hearing from him on all things disc golf and YouTube. If you haven't seen Alden's content on YouTube, once again, make sure to go check that out. It is really funny. You're really going to have a good time watching it. I've watched them all. But also make sure to be paying attention to Alden as he's making his way up the leaderboards in the future. Definitely one to watch for. And make sure to join us next Thursday because we're going to have another great episode with another special guest. So we'll see you then.